Hello, welcome back to the steedcraft training workshop. We've moved on now from producing our first lost wax castings, and you'll soon get the idea that the modelling of the wax, producing the lost waxes, is the bulk of the work in running a micro foundry. We've had a go with borrowing chess moulds, and we know that the split mould gives a nice detailed wax model, particularly when it's fed with an injection gun. There's a limit to jewellery in the chessmen, so we're going to move on now to looking at something a bit more jewellery like, and we're borrowing the creativity of people who produce for the sugarcraft this time. These little rose moulds are quite neat, and they give good practice in first mould making on your own. The detail needs to be protected, and we fill the R.T.V silicone, that's what this flexible material is, either with warming up the wax and running pattern wax in level, or as we did with this one, a smaller one, fill the mould with a hard resin. Either of them with different techniques. The hard resin, your flexible shaft can whittle that down. They need to be reduced quite well, A, to smooth them from just a cast poured finish, but also because they're sugarcraft, they're intended to be quite chunky, and there's a lot of silver, a lot of weight, a lot of cost in them. So either burnish them down or use the wax modelling tools to recess the back of the wax to give you the detail that you want. Imagine this, the blue is the bought mould, the pink doesn't yet exist. That's what we're going to produce now, is the first half of the split mould. You can make a dam to stop the pink from running away out of 4 pieces of wood and plasticine it down to a base. I use the one piece, it's a vulcanizing flask actually, but it does this very nicely, and the sprue pin goes in through the side, and onto the sprue pin I've turned an extra little sprue former, a little cone, which fits on there, and that moulds into the edge of our moulding an ingate which is matched by the conical nozzle of the pressure wax injector. So at this stage the pink is not quite there yet, but what we've got is the sprue pin, and the blue original mould has just been cut down gently so that the sprue pin goes into exactly halfway, exactly just by eye. At that stage we can put a small amount of silicone sealant, ordinary bath sealer, a little fillet around the bottom of the flask. The base needs to be level so that when we press this down and mix the silicone rubber, a nice easy flexible rubber, 25 to 40 range Shaw, they're easily available, very popular, and they do the job nicely. Pour into one side, don't pour on top of the sprue pin or on top of the model. Pour into one side and allow it to run round. It's very penetrating, it will run easily, and pour until the R.T.V comes up halfway up the sprue pin. If you got air at all, bring it up a little bit higher, because when it's set, a scalpel will just allow you to trim the top off to bring it halfway up the pin. You'll also notice that the original blue R.T.V mould is well up into the top half of the mould. That's an advantage, because when we come to make the second half, which is this yellow one, you'll see that the original one pushes up and forms a guide, forms a key, which will always align the both halves together when we come to use it as a mould. In this particular instance, all the detail is on one side, so we've got the detail from the original model, the one we bought, and the backing, this second side, has only got to give the reworked back of the model, and we can use a fairly low grade filler. We use Vinymold. It's a reusable material. It goes molten when it's warmed up, and you warm it up on a plate, pour it in, and you pour it in completely to the top and allow it to cool. At this stage now we've got both halves of our model, so we can pull out the sprue pin, bring the model out of the frame, remove the former, remove the resin filler. We've now got a hollow mould. Put the second half on and bring them into a clamp. Gentle clamping. This looks like a powerful clamp, but I'm only using it very, very gently, because the soft R.T.V can be squidged, reducing the cavity considerably if you overdo it. That's the mould complete. You could, just in theory, pour the wax in, but the pressure injected waxes are so much better, so much denser, bring out all the detail of the mould. So we put the pattern wax into the injector gun, check on the temperature, 65-70 maximum is just right. Introduce the piston at the top there, bring the injector into the sprue, the ingate that we've moulded for it, and inject the wax. Job done. Don't be too hasty in splitting the mould. The R.T.V is a very good insulator, and it takes at least 5 minutes for the wax to solidify, to be firm enough to peel the halves apart gently and let out our wax model. You can see that we've got a little bit of a flash around here which needs to be worked. The sprue, which is the injection gate, provides the start of a stem if you're going to have a stem and flowers, or it is chopped off to make it into a charm or whatever. This is now ready to be fixed onto a rubber sprue base to be invested and cast. There's one that's been cast in silver, ready to be worked into a brooch.